All right, so this is LiveOverflow. I don't actually know your name, so we're just going to go with that. Actually, I think I do. Yeah, I remember now. John told me. But anyways, LiveOverflow over here. Go check his channel out. He's like 300,000 subscribers. He's a cybersecurity wizard.
Hey.
He knows.
Nice to be here.
So he's in Germany, and I'm in Salt Lake City. Yamato, Juan, what's up? So, like most of this channel is like web dev oriented, and your channel is cybersecurity oriented, and web dev is a piece of cybersecurity, but not all of cybersecurity. Anyways, if you got questions for him, let him know. That's what this whole thing is, just going to be Q&A. He answers your questions. I get a lot of security stuff and like certificate stuff, and I don't know how to answer. So he's your man.
Yeah, maybe I can also say as an introduction that professionally I do a lot of web security audits. I review a lot of web application source code and black box testing, white box testing and stuff like this. So if you also come from like a web development side and you want to know how like my site looks like and you have questions for that, those are all things I hopefully can answer.
His videos are way more animated than mine, like actually animated. Like he like draws over everything. So like when you go watch his videos, it's all like hand painted by him. He puts way more effort into his video.
That sounds more fancy than it is. It's literally the easiest solution I found of making videos.
Yeah, but like 14 hours to make one video. Holy crap, you're just watching cybersecurity videos. Welcome LiveOverflow. I don't know. This guy over here, 7x, where I'm at currently, is, Anyways, what's the best way to become a great hacker?
I would have to throw this question right back. What do you think, or what does being a hacker mean to you? It's such a loaded and difficult term, to be honest. There are a lot of different ways and a lot of different interpretations of that. So you might as well be already a great hacker. If you are like a developer, I think you are totally fine calling yourself that.
I know we do this in the videos, but just fire off a couple resources people can go that are watching this online, recorded later, so they can learn about cybersecurity.
Right. So a big part, especially how I learn, is with security challenges. And so there are a lot of websites that offer practical exercises and challenges for you to learn with. And great ones are like PicoCTF or Over the Wire, exploit.education, that's a domain. My videos hopefully, of course, help you as well. And ctftime.org, there you can find CTFs that are scheduled to play. So CTFs are competitions with challenges to solve. So these are the resources I mainly learn with. And the other part is to look into bug bounty write-ups. So if you are a web developer or you are interested or you are a programmer with a certain language or a certain framework, I think it's a great resource to just Google for your framework name and then bug bounty write-up or vulnerability write-up, and just look at what kind of security issues have researchers found in certain applications, and then you can read that, try to understand it, and see if it applies to, for example, the software you are writing or working on.
Yeah. All right, so there's another one in here. This is a good question. Where was it? Is it difficult to perform a pen test on Node.js or React.js applications? And do you have experience with those?
Yeah, so I do have a lot of experience with Node.js because that is one of the languages that come up a lot. Now, is it difficult or easy? It's definitely not PHP anymore. So these languages have matured a lot in terms of, it's harder to make mistakes. There are still certain classes of vulnerabilities that can happen with Node.js. And there's actually one that is really, I like a lot, but you don't really see it anymore because it's patched in Node.js. And this was that if you create a new buffer object of a certain size, then it would allocate just memory. And if you didn't initialize that memory, you could return memory that was just still in the web application process. And if you had an application where an attacker was able to get such an uninitialized buffer returned, for example, that could happen if you do a base64 encoding, because you often use that buffer object. Anyway, you could leak memory, and so you could potentially leak passwords and secret keys that were still like in the web application process. This is kind of like my favorite Node.js issue, but you usually don't find it anymore because everybody's on a more modern version. But mostly what you find is probably access control issues. For example, a lot of people use the Express framework. So when you are dealing with your middleware and you add like an authentication layer, that there's just a bad like JavaScript comparison to check for something, or they whitelist, something. These are the kind of issues you mostly find, like access control and kind of logical issues with Node.js. And in terms of React.js, because that then affects the front end, if we are talking on security issues that affect the client side, the browser, client side issues like cross-site scripting or in that region, you're basically safe with React.js. I think React.js is one of the most annoying and frustrating frameworks to work with as a security person. You really need to be very creative to create issues there.
I got a question. This is kind of like a few questions combined in the chat. So I know that you came upon your job like through a friend of a friend, and you just kind of like landed in it, and you're like, I guess I'm getting paid to do this now. But how would you, I don't know if you have an answer, but how would you go about freelancing or trying to make money? Would you just like test software and send a report and be like, look, I found these bugs, I can tell you how to fix them? Or what would you do?
Oh, don't do that, what you just said. That is pretty extortionary, and it's actually a big kind of issue that we have in our industry. I don't know if you know this, because you mentioned this. So people think that they kind of deserve to be paid for finding vulnerabilities, and they send these kind of emails to companies, but that is basically extortion, right? Like, I know that there's a security issue, and I hold this hostage until you pay me. So don't do this. Don't expect or demand this kind of stuff. Just don't do it. It's like,
well, okay, all right, you could rephrase it to be like, I could look over to see because I've done X, Y, and Z company in the past. Like, okay, all right, so I get that's probably like, that's how you get, yeah, it's probably legal. So.
I think that, I'm actually not sure if that would work. I think too many companies are so they either know security and they know how to find companies to, get a pen test, or they have no clue, and then you will just sound like this crazy person. I'm a hacker and you can pay me to search for stuff. They won't do this either. So I don't actually know how I would become a freelancer before, but I would not target clients directly and contact them, except maybe if you have personal connections, like if you have friends in like some kind of startup community and they are maybe interested in that. Well, that is maybe a good contact. But otherwise, I would try to contact other security companies that offer consulting services, and they often have needs for freelancers on fairly short notice. Like they got a project in and they don't have employees right now ready, so they like to outsource on like a project basis to freelancers. So I would try to find out such security companies, send them the CV and say that you are a freelancer and open for projects, and that's how I would probably do it.
What, like, do you have experience doing like hardware cybersecurity?
Depends on the kind of hardware. Can also mean a lot of different layers. So I have never done like actual like really low level, like looking on the PCB and seeing if they like close the JTAG or if there's a serial console available or something like this myself. But I was in a group that was like auditing a router, like a network router, and part of that was also hardware part, but also other parts were the software part. So we were all working together as a team. Obviously, I didn't have a lot of experience with the hardware part, just a little bit. So somebody else was doing that, and I was focusing on like the Linux system that was running on there.
So do you work with anyone that's like could hijack an entire manufacturing system if they wanted and just blow it up, like, turn everything up?
No, I don't think that is how it works, really. Well, so what happens quite often in those kind of industries is that they accidentally have like a management interface public to the internet, and you can just find them. So I have like friends that are constantly like scanning the internet, and they find like some kind of water management system, or from a wind farm, the terminal where you can like turn on and off like generators and stuff like this, and these things are just open in the internet because somebody didn't like properly firewall off these networks.
Right.
So, but I mean, how much is that really hacking? I mean, it's not like crazy stuff, right? It's just like finding an IP that isn't on Google, and you just scan the internet and you find it.
So they want to know your story. They want to know your background, how you got into this. I know you're doing a master's thesis, which means you have the degree before the master's. So you can go ahead and tell that story.
Yeah, so I was always into programming, a lot of web development, like in my late teens, basically. Then I went on to study computer science as a bachelor's. During that time, I discovered these competitions that I mentioned earlier, these CTF challenges, these hacking challenges. And I was always kind of interested in security, but I never had a good way to get into them. It's really hard to get started. But these challenges, this was the first time I felt like, oh, I can learn with them. And my web development knowledge was actually usable there as well. That's when I got into security, and I made some connections. I met some friends, and who was already in security much longer. And then he was going to a security conference, met this guy that will become, my future project person, where I get like my freelance projects from, and he was recommending me, saying that I have some potential in security. And then I did like a penetration test with that guy, and that went very well. And since then I'm basically part of that freelance team, and that was like 4 years ago or so.
So you've been doing it for 4 years. How many, I guess I have two questions here. Like, what happens when you get a job? And I asked you this before, but what happens if you get a job and you do the job and you just like don't find anything? Are you like, how would they trust that you're actually working, or if you're just like, you didn't try hard enough? Because your entire security audit is up to how well you can think outside the box that specific day.
Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit in a previous stream before, so maybe you can maybe the people can also check out the previous Q&A we did. But to summarize again, sometimes depending on how big or small the scope is and what kind of application it is, it's true that you might not really find something, but most of the time, they are trusting you. And if you tell them, we spent a reasonable amount of time on this and we couldn't find anything in this reasonable amount of time, the client also knows that, okay, and we can be honest, like we know from experience, were we able to cover a lot, or are we still feeling insecure? So we can tell the client, okay, we thought 4 days was enough, but we realized we couldn't cover everything and we are not very confident with our result. Or, the client booked us for like 10 days and we spent 5 and realized, okay, actually we have covered everything, like there's nothing, it's so small and such a static website or something, there's nothing there. However, in those cases, we often write down so we don't provide like a test protocol like that, like nothing detailed what we all tested. But in cases where we don't really find much, we do provide a rough outline and an explanation on how we approached this and what our process was. And in the end, it's just like a reputation and trust in us, as we are the security experts, so trust us that we do a good job. And we do this just by having a good reputation, by having references from excellent results in the past, I guess. Yeah.
So there's no real kind of like degree to get into this field specifically, because it's so huge. I guess you kind of get a degree that tells you what it is, and then you like pick a niche, and then over time you could learn more. Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, so I mean, there are now a couple of security degrees. So the people that are now in their 20s, they could now get actually a cybersecurity degree. But the largest part of the industry, the 30 years old, the 40 years old, obviously they never were able to get such a degree. So the industry is really not really looking for degrees. There are a lot of companies look for certifications, but I personally have no experience with certifications. But in a way, this field is kind of like computer science in general. Imagine like a computer science degree. What does that mean? Like, this computer science degree is like everything and nothing? There's a lot of math that you might not need anymore. Maybe you have like Java classes where you do projects, but you never will program with Java. They don't teach you certain other languages. It's like even a security degree would be way too general, and there are so many areas that you can go into the same way you could go with a computer science degree. And just to add one more thing to this, what I've heard about cybersecurity degrees at like universities, that they are actually, so they cover some technical parts, but then they do like a lot of like economy or business side of things as well, like how do you do risk management and I don't know, all this other fancy stuff I have no clue about. So it's not that you might imagine, oh, that's going to be the hardcore technical hacking nerdy stuff if I go into that degree. But from what I've heard from the few degrees I've seen in the curriculum there, it's actually not that technical. And a lot of people describe it as, kind of as a secondary thing. You first do computer science and security is just, just another specialization in computer science also.
I kind of have one question. I was just curious, like, so when you like give the results to your client, what does that look like? Is it kind of like a CTF write-up, or is it just like we did X, Y, and Z, or is it like, do you have to like, I know there's like CTOs and other software engineers, but how, what's that look like?
I can actually give you a really good resource that I would recommend everybody just to check it out to see what can you expect. And there's a GitHub that you can find if you just Google for it, called pentesting reports or something like this. Maybe you can Google for it and drop the link or something. There is somebody on GitHub who just collects public pentesting reports. And a lot of our reports are also public, so we are also in there. So from first of all, you see a lot of different companies there that exist, and you can see their public reports, and you can see how different they are. Now, for us specifically, we don't like a lot of the blah blah bullshit that is around it. Like, we are very focused just on the single tickets, and you can just imagine like it's a header with a description of this issue, an unique identifier, so we can like chat about stuff like a number, and a criticality, low, medium, high, critical or something, and then a quick introduction, what this vulnerability or issue is, steps to reproduce it, and recommendations how we would approach fixing that. And then we have a small introduction text and a small conclusion that is more like a management summary, I guess. Okay. Very basic in a way. Other companies, they create like reports that are like hundreds of pages with like graphs and like diagrams of like how many percentage of was this kind of vulnerability found, and they create all these management summaries, and it's like crazy. But ours are very basic in that sense.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think I saw the link posted there.
Yeah, Austin is the MVP.
Yeah, and I think, if you are interested in security or not, it's just, I think, a good idea to just click through a couple and see what kind of you can expect. Maybe you find something that is close to your technology stack you are working with. Like if you're a web developer, look just for some web application write-ups or something like that, yeah.
So there's one question. Zach asking the real questions. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to. But how does cybersecurity pay compared to web dev, if you have a comparison to go off of?
I don't really have actually a comparison. I mean, it's so locally different, as you know, like depending on where you are living and how crazy high the salaries are in like Silicon Valley compared to other places, just because of they have to pay more for the living standard there. I actually would say like a senior web developer probably aren't similar to like a security thing. I mean, there are maybe differences, but I don't know.
I feel like your first job in cybersecurity, you already have like X amount of years in something else before you even move into that. And so it's like you're technically a junior cyber, but like you're senior something else.
Okay, so maybe to give you some figures, I guess you can like think about most of the pen testing jobs and security jobs you get are consultant positions, where you are going on site to a client and your company is providing services to another company. And a typical, and now you are working just on consultant daily rates. or something, or hourly rates like that. And so imagine, what does a senior consultant charge? And that can be, like the junior consultant, maybe a cheap one is like $500 a day, $1,000 a day, and maybe, the really expensive ones, maybe up to $2,000 a day or something like that. But these are normal consultant rates, like a technical consultant for a big company like IBM or so. This is what IBM charges the client. And now the question is what you get as an employee out of that. But you can kind of like calculate in what kind of realms you are moving there. Yeah. And for example, I know in Germany that just because of the taxes, the social security stuff we have, our income isn't like that outrageously high. We also don't have like areas to live that are crazy explosions in like things you have to pay for. Like the housing isn't that explosive as in certain areas in the US. So yeah, earning 3 figures in Germany is possible, but that would be high end actually, I think. Like 6 figures, sorry.
So fair enough. So that's a lot of money though. 500 to 1,000 a day. It sounds like a lot of money, but you don't actually get all that money. You actually have to give about 45% of that to Mr. Taxman, who's coming whether you want to or not.
Right, and then usually you work for a company, so that company also takes basically their cut, and then you get paid with the rest of that.
Yeah.
That's like for a regular company. That's why if you manage to do the freelancing stuff, obviously you cut out kind of like the company middleman. But then you lose the security of a salary, being employed. Germany has very strong labor laws, for example. So there's a lot of advantages over that as well. Yeah, I don't know. It gets weird.
Is there any active communities for security enthusiasts, like a Discord or a forum?
I think the most active and the most grown up and most useful community to me is just on Twitter. Researchers that do actually like technical stuff are sharing a lot of stuff on Twitter, and a lot of people are shitposting as well. But over time, you can follow very interesting people and build up a nice following of stuff. It's not very interactive in that sense, like a forum, but just kind of as a news source and staying up to date and getting good tips. Twitter is definitely my number one source. And of course, there are like Discords for various different communities. For example, there is a website called Hack the Box where they have like challenges kind of like every week, hacking challenges, and they also have a Discord community and a forum, I think, as well. So a lot of these kind of places have communities as well you can engage with.
Josh looking support. No, I'm just I'm doing things on Instagram so that I can take some videos of this, and then I got a couple of questions.
The grind is.
Well, you want me to like interrupt him just because I'm like looking down? It's actually like I'm just looking at my phone, just letting him talk. I don't want to be that guy that's like, well, wait a minute, hold on, can you, like, that's annoying. I don't want to be that guy. Apex Legends, yes, confirmed. I did see you playing Apex Legends. How do you feel about that game?
Oh my gosh, I'm so addicted, and it helps me procrastinate from what I should do. It was like...
Yeah, I saw you were on like 9 hours one day.
Yeah, it was like an unfortunate, perfect situation. I wanted to take time off to focus on my master thesis. Came off. So, yeah. But I do enjoy it a lot. Yeah, I have been playing with a lot of people. I was like scrolling through Discord and looking at people who are playing Apex and just wrote them and just played with random people.
Your Discord?
No, I don't have a Discord, but like your Discord and John Hammond's Discord and just like a couple of Discords.
Do you have one? I forget. You don't have one, do you?
No, I don't have one.
Okay, so Vincent, there's a good Discord. You can go to John Hammond's. He has a Discord for all cybersecurity stuff, or you can just message him or him, and they'll give you some resources. They're all in the Discord. This is a good question. Everybody wants to know, how much do you make for a year? So just lie and just say $567,000, 49 cents. That's what I would say. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. The problem is like directly, because I'm a freelancer, and so one good thing is, right, that the project situation right now, at least, or the past few years, has been really good. Like, we are not struggling with getting projects. Once you have the reputation in this like industry, it's not that big. There are not that many companies, so projects are just coming in easily, and theoretically you could charge outrageous rates. I hear people are paying crazy for like smart contract audits, because that is like so specialized and there's so much like money in it. And I've done some smart contract audits, but you know, you don't feel comfortable charging these kind of amounts. It's like almost like awful. So
define
I just
awful.
look for my normal rate. Like they charge like $30,000 for like I don't know, like a thing that takes you like 3 days to look at or something like this. It's
just a new car in a couple days. No big deal.
Yeah, it's not so cool. I don't know. So I just did them with like my regular daily rate. But so what I'm saying is like there's a lot of projects just coming in. So it like directly scales actually with how much time I want to spend on freelancing or not. And I've worked quite a lot like last year. So I made like a nice above average definitely income last year for like, you know, somebody with like a bachelor's degree. But this year I need to finish my master thesis, so you know I will take an income cut this year to do this. And just FYI, you don't earn that much with YouTube, even though I have a quite big YouTube channel. Like, you cannot compare that income to even a junior web dev position. Like, you earn more as a junior web dev than with having such a YouTube channel.
So yeah, he's at like 300,000 or 280,000 subscribers. Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like you should be making like $50K a month off YouTube at that.
That would be nice.
Yeah, but it's not like that. We've talked about like the analytics and the stats and stuff, and like it's like it doesn't directly scale like you think it would. So it's like you got to have all these other avenues to like make revenue, basically. Especially because like you're a freelancer, you get to pick how many days a week you want to work, and your company's pretty chill. You're like, yeah, you got a project like next Friday? Yeah, I'll work. Is that how it works? I have no idea. I just guessed.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's a bit planned more in advance. It's like on a weekly basis, like calendar week 1, 2, 3, 4 is like planned out basically, and I can like put myself to available or not available. That's actually as easy as it works. That's why also like I wouldn't want to be actually a freelancer if I didn't have this kind of setup, to be honest with you. Like seeking out and dealing with individual clients and stuff like this sounds really stressful. I'm not that kind of person. I don't want that. So I would probably go in an employment position. But then again, I don't want to be a typical consultant that has to go on site to clients, which is a very typical kind of pen testing job where you have to constantly travel to clients on site. You are a consultant. You live a consultant life like any other business consultant, basically. And also, that's not really what I want, but that's kind of the jobs you might expect as security. So personally, I would actually more look into the direction of like in-house pen testing of a big company where they just have an internal team that reviews their own products, something like that, or like a research position in like huge pen testing companies might have their own research team where they try to find new vulnerabilities that they can use in their pen tests. Something like that maybe. So yeah, but these are like rare positions and it's difficult to find and get into, I guess.
If you weren't doing cybersecurity, what would you be doing? Like if you could get paid doing something else.
Yeah, I would actually probably be like a web developer, like working like my dream goal is still being like not a dream goal, like, but one of these things I would like to do is like working at Google, I think, for a while, just, you know, doing regular stuff. I enjoy technology and I enjoy solving like big problems. Solving security problems is just one way to do it, and it's pretty nerdy and fun. But you know, I wouldn't mind to work as a developer, I guess.
Someone asked a question earlier: Is Kali Linux like the best to use in terms of cybersecurity?
I don't use Kali Linux. A lot of people use it, obviously, because there's a lot of stuff already installed. I don't really have a use for it. I know the tools I want to use, and I have it on my own setup, so I don't need it. However, you know, from time to time, it's a tool. Like every operating system you're using, or every other like program software you're using, it's a tool that you can use to solve a problem. you can write your own tools in the moment. Like I write constant scripts to try out certain things, and Kali is one of these tools. And so there are situations where it makes sense and I just use a Kali VM, but it happens fairly rarely. For my kind of work, I rarely need it.
What hardware hacking would you look more into? Have you read the read up for Dirty Sock, AVLUN, and Ubuntu? I don't know what that means.
I have no clue what this person is referring to be honest. What hardware hacking do you look more into? So I guess what I think is what I would like to know a bit more is just like generally like the hardware level where you have like the firmware and the memory chips and being able to dump the firmware and reverse engineer then the firmware on, you know, on this kind of hardware level, I guess I'm interested in. Yeah, I guess Dirty Sock is a vulnerability. That's also what I understood from that question, but I've actually not heard about it. No clue.
I got a question.
On my channel, I have a couple of like hardware write-up, and I currently have a series running on doing some hardware hacking, but it's actually, you know, I would consider it hardware security, but in a way it's actually the software part, like firmware, and you interact obviously on that level with the hardware as well a little bit. So I'm not sure if this is what you also imagine when you say hardware hacking.
Endeavor 42, we've been up for 31 minutes and 20 seconds. I have a question. Just, it's not related to cybersecurity. I just want to know, what inspired you to make a YouTube channel? Why did you start doing this?
So, like I said, I wanted to learn security, but I couldn't find like good resources. These capture the flag challenges and exercises, but it was kind of like hitting a wall. Like it was really hard to like continue. And I found a live stream from somebody live streaming solving such challenges. That was actually GeoHot. GeoHot is a name from like the PlayStation 3 hacking scene. He got sued by Sony. He's a real character, incredibly smart dude. So he did like a live stream, and just watching him, like just, you know, using the command line and the tools he is using and his thought process, that was just like eye-opening to me, and I thought that was amazing. So I thought, okay, I'm not at that level, but this is such an incredible resource. I want to offer this for other people that are still like, you know, below me knowledge wise. And so I started live streaming in the same way, but then I realized I'm shit in live streaming. I started to do videos, and yeah.
You did like a, what was it? You did like a 7-hour live stream and then a 9-hour live stream the next day, and you like wanted to die. You have like a 14-hour live stream or something?
Yeah, but that was for making a video. That was not like...
So like, he was documenting his process of what it looks like to make a video for his channel, because he puts way more effort. That sounds so bad. But he produces like a video a week, and I do like 2 videos a day.
Exactly. You know, you put the same effort in, you just like allocate it differently for, you know, you put out way more content, and I just spend more time on the video.
Yeah, it's just not, it's not
but
as good.
You are far away from being lazy or anything.
There was one, let's see, what is your daily OS? I'm going to guess Linux.
Actually, Mac.
All right, well, we're all wrong.
But it's difficult kind of to, you know, specify what is your main OS, because right now I'm sitting in front of a Windows machine actually, because this is where I edit my videos and play Apex.
How many machines you got sitting there? I see a couple laptop bases there.
Yeah, so those are 2 MacBooks, and then over there I have
2 MacBooks and a ThinkPad.
And this is a desktop PC there.
And then 4.
A couple of like Android and phones laying around, like an iPad for like mobile security stuff. I have another laptop that is in the other room.
It's just a couple devices.
But I actually am pretty proud. So those 2 ThinkPads I have, I actually won these in a security competition.
So they're like, are they touchscreen 4K type deal?
No, they are already now 2 years old or 3 years old.
I gotcha.
Just like regular works, like ThinkPad.
Let me see. There's a couple questions. Are they going to see you at DEF CON? I don't know what that is.
That's the major US security conference, I guess. Black Hat and DEF CON together in Las Vegas. I was there this year for the first time, but I don't know yet if I will go there this year. It probably depends on if we qualify again for, the challenge for the capture the flag. I was there last year because of that, and so if I would be in a team that qualifies again, then I probably will be there, but otherwise not. I have not planned any trip yet.
So Hassan says, you mentioned that you use software dev as a way to make a living so you can do what you enjoy. How do you make money with electronics and drone programming? I don't really do electronics programming or drone programming. That was just the dream. I actually looked into it very little. I found this video of a guy making a drone with an Arduino, and he got a bunch of parts, and he put it all together. And I don't know. That'd be cool.
Did you see Michael Reeves' video of making drones that attack him?
No, that sounds fun. Where's that video?
So I guess you make a YouTube channel and make stupid electronic projects like that, and that's how you can earn money with programming drones.
That is exactly what I want to do. I want to learn how to do Arduino stuff so that I can build all these dumb ideas that I think are dumb, but would probably do Mr. Beast level of views,
Yeah.
Leaving the waitress.
Then you should check out Michael Reeves' video on that.
There was one dude.
But I don't know.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
There was one dude who built an electric plane from scratch. Did you ever see that video? Is that who we're talking about?
No.
Right. There's one dude who built an electric plane, and he flew it in his backyard in Illinois, and he documented the whole process, and he just flies around in this little homemade electric plane. And I'm like, is this real life right now? You don't have to have a license if it's a certain size and sport and stuff. But that's the stuff I do.
There are so many amazing channels that make electronics content and crazy stuff. Yeah.
That's what I want to learn. And then there's the girl, I forget her name, but she makes robots pretty much. What's her name?
Oh yeah. Simone.
That stuff would be cool. I just have no idea how to do any of it because I'm just a little web dev that makes videos. But I'll get there. Simon Gertz, yeah. That's her name. Was there any other questions that we missed here? Let's see. That's fine. I have a question anyways. So there are some people in here that are trying to build brands because that's what I put effort on. You can, the same, it's always the same question. Who are you going to hire? The guy with the degree and cover letter and portfolio, or the guy with the degree, cover letter, resume, portfolio, and a background of providing content, valuable content for free, or just doing valuable things for other people without being asked to do so. So it's build a brand. So for you, what would your tips be for building a brand? How did you go from, you said last year you had 40,000 subscribers, and this year you have 280,000 subscribers. And I've been doing this for a year, and that has not happened. Please give subs.
Yeah, exactly. Subscribe. I actually think so. I think a personal blog kind of stuff where you just document your progress and share some information is extremely valuable in the security field or in the computer science field, for development stuff in general. But it actually nobody cares how many views those have if you can put them just on your resume. So if you just do a basic blog and just document a project you were working on or an interesting technical challenge you had while programming, there was a bug you chased down and you document how you figured out that bug, or just something like this, random content like this to show and showcase with what kind of technologies you are working on and where people can see that you are interested in these things. That's good enough, and it doesn't have to get a lot of views in terms of applying for jobs. But I think that is kind of almost a must. I would say I almost expect everybody to have a blog at this point, or something where they share some stuff. I guess if you happen to be successful with it as well, and you can show that you have 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, that sounds also pretty amazing, I guess.
Probably sounds, well, I don't know. It's going to do two things, I think, to the employer probably. They're going to think you don't really need this job, so you're not going to be very dedicated. Or, hey, that's really awesome, you're choosing to do this because you really love doing it. And that would be the two flip-flops. And
yeah, you need to sell that well in your cover letter and your interview. It shouldn't look like you will spend all your time on your YouTube channel rather than the job, I guess, yeah.
And that's the actual opposite of what I did. I was all the time on YouTube, no time on the job. I will. Seems like popular YouTube channels only release a vid once a week on Tuesday. but channel building needs a video a day. What was a breakthrough point? He had this really good video that went viral on Reddit and stuff. It's like, what is it, like 2 million views?
Yeah, so I had a couple of videos I would consider like breakthrough videos, and I wouldn't necessarily subscribe to the idea that you need a daily video to grow a channel, but you increase the probability of it happening by having more videos. So if I look at my analytics, like my videos didn't change in a way, like this growth I have, my videos didn't become 10 times or 100 times better. They are just the same videos as ever that I've done before. But what gives you growth is when the YouTube algorithm picks up your video for some reason, like people, and it will pick it up with people, click on it and stay engaged. So it just happened that in the past I had a couple of videos that always kind of like had that thing where people got it recommended, and you can see in my analytics that I don't know the exact numbers, but like 60 to 70% of my views come from YouTube recommending my videos. So these are not views from me sharing it on Reddit or sharing it on YouTube, on Twitter or something like this. It's YouTube algorithm recommending it. And I had this one video that just tickled the algorithm or the interest of people perfectly, and that just exploded with the YouTube recommendation. That gave me the biggest growth. But I had smaller growth before with, again, like videos that were just like very interesting to the to like random people just passing by. Yeah, these were like game hacking or botting related video was one, or searching for bitcoins in with like Google's BigQuery, these kind of videos. Yeah.
What's his channel?
If you look on,
go ahead.
Yeah, if you look on Social Blade, you can see like my subscriber growth, and you see these small like rises always. These were kind of the viral videos that gave it.
I'm trying to get to that level. Like I think right now, I just like suck, so I have to just do the grind to get the work ethic up, and then eventually the quality will come with that, and then.
Well,
yeah.
I think from my perspective, you provide, this one service which I don't provide is this community engagement and like building a actual like community around it, and trying, help people grow and build something up themselves. And I think that is a huge part of keeping engagement and staying relevant in those people's lives. And I think what you need is just like these videos that have the potential of expanding that and drawing other people in. For example, your one video with like quitting YouTube is kind of like expanding further out again outside of your community, and drew in, if you look at the views of that video, it's like 10 times of your other videos. But it was also, more
so
work.
It's like 10 times my other videos. It's still not that high, which means my other videos are garbage. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. How is cybersecurity in the industry? Well, I mean, like, so in web development, you have to make sure your apps are secure, people can't access your data, all that sorts of stuff. Should you start with coding, CompTIA Plus to get started in hacking? Help? No, just learn how to go to all the CTF websites. Go to his channel. He'll tell you what to do. He's the wizard.
But in general, like if you are a web developer, I think, like if I would be trying to get a web development job, and I wouldn't have maybe that much experience with security, just a little bit. Here's how I would sell myself to an employer. I would tell them that here are my project programming experience, blah blah blah. Like I know these vulnerabilities, but look at my blog. I wrote a little bit about some security issues, and I could be a part of your team that has a security aspect to it and understands some security issues, and I would try to sell myself as a developer with a security background that understands how to write secure code. That's kind of like the angle I would try to sell myself as. And so I think already if you just do these challenges, a little bit of write-ups, and you look a little bit at typical issues, and you make like you play around with it, like you think about your own projects where could be an issue and you blog about that or something, that is already, I think, that gives you the edge over somebody else. I think it sounds great on your resume if you can say that you have a little bit of security experience.
Probably. That's probably like one of those like undercover type deals. Like I always say like accessibility is a huge one because no one thinks about that. But as soon as you add it on there and you bring that to the company, they're like, oh, we didn't even, yeah, you can, yeah, because it, widens their user base. And if it's not an internal application, like most applications, now you have more users, potentially more revenue. I don't know. So it's like, yeah, I 100% agree. Let's see. Books for cybersecurity, you're probably going to say books are bad because they're outdated as soon as they're printed. That's what I would say.
I would actually not necessarily say that, but mostly because I don't know. Because I can't like really sit down and read books. I can't like concentrate with them. I wish I could. But if you are into books and you want like quality security books, I can recommend No Starch Press. They are a publisher of security books, and they work closely with a lot of very skilled and experienced security professionals that I know and that I also look up to, and they get them to write some books, and yeah, they are usually published via No Starch Press. I would recommend those books.
Let's see. I have a question. What are you doing when you're not doing YouTube or hacking? Or not Apex Legends? All right, can't say that one either.
Well, I do sit a lot in front of the computer, and so I either have my freelance thing. So my life in the past 2 years is basically YouTube and working freelance every day, weekends, no vacation, and it kind of is fun, but it also kind of sucks in a way. So I don't like, that's a problem I probably need to work on, to be honest. Yeah.
What is that thing in the background?
This year?
Yeah, you reverse engineering? You building some Iron Man suits? What is that?
That's like a portable workbench. You see like the wheels like at the bottom there, and you can like carry it around, and you have two drawers, and these are like cases with like individual like electronics parts and stuff in there. So it's just like because I don't have like a house or anything, it's just an apartment. So this is like my small workbench.
You just roll that around your house? It looks like you're about to go to hotels and start cleaning some rooms from a distance. Like I see like a little glove hanging. Like I know it's not, but like, so what kind of?
Yeah, it's like that's true. There's wiping. There's like
yeah, like looks like you're about to go clean.
But there's also fire extinguisher there.
You do have a lot of electronics.
Just some tools, like some clipper, like some screwdrivers and stuff like this there. Yeah, it's just like, for the little bit of handiwork that, in general, that is happening in the house. There's like hammer and screwdriver and stuff like that. But also, if I'm soldering or stuff like this is on here. And I have this other desk over there, which has like my electronic stuff. So there's like a oscilloscope there, and there have drawers with like some cables and stuff. There's like a soldering, oh my god, there's like a soldering station back there as well. Yeah.
So what are you building, like when it's like actual hardware electronics back there?
Oh, I have no clue. Like I mean I have a lot of electronics parts. I did play around with those things in the past. For the video series I'm doing right now, there's a part where we had to disassemble and solder debug headers onto this device to then use like a hardware debugger with it. So this is basically, for example, what I did on there.
When are you going to hack into a Nintendo Switch?
I can't. Too bad.
I saw a bunch of videos on that. Like, there's a whole bunch of vulnerabilities in it that you can hack into it.
Yeah, so I have two videos on the Nintendo Switch. One is when it came out, they had like a vulnerable browser version, like an old WebKit version, and there are public vulnerabilities for the WebKit version. So I made a video trying to explain how that WebKit exploit works, but I didn't quite understand it myself either. And then I made a second video just recently where I'm basically covering the research of, I guess, a friend of mine who I know, who worked on trying to glitch, which is like, how do I explain that? They tried to introduce glitches by playing around with the power connection of the switch. And with that glitch, they are hopefully skipping like a security check. And when they skip that security check, they are able to extract the firmware. That was the goal. And so I was going like over that kind of research.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, if you think about it, let me just, I'm curious about your reaction to this kind of thing. So in hardware security, there's this concept of fault injections, I guess, where you are deliberately trying to do some thing to introduce an error in the computation. So you could, for example, spike up the voltage or drop the voltage just for like a microsecond short amount of time. Or you could come with a huge electromagnetic thing and just like do like a small, electromagnetic pulse, a discharge or something. And then internally in the chip, stuff fails. And if you time that correctly, if there's a security check, that check might fail. That's the whole idea behind it. And I think that is why it's mind-blowing.
I just like the fact it's like you just have to like think about trying all these things out. That's the thing about cybersecurity. That's just like you're just literally just like trying stuff and seeing if you can get a reaction, and then you like play off of those, see how far you can get. It's kind of like you ever had that thought where you're just like, how did the human race decide that this food was edible? Someone had to try it, and like it's just like, how did someone figure this out? Someone had to try it.
I don't know if you have ever had this feeling or this sense of, man, I wish I was born like 200 years ago when you could do actually science on your desk. Like there's this term of tabletop science where you can just like, at home figure out something about physics or chemistry, right? And be actually at the forefront of research. Nowadays, physics and chemistry research and biology, you need massive research teams and huge amounts of funding to build crazy machines to explore, the nitty-gritty details of our universe. But what I personally like crave so much and like so much about security, that a lot of people individually can still conduct like actually meaningful research. I mean, in a way, it's like lame because we are just researching what other people have implemented, but to me, there's so many mind-blowing ideas that you were just like saying about, like it's crazy what kind of people are coming up with, and those are the special things that I'm always craving with security, like the next mind-blowing example. That's kind of what I'm waiting for.
So what is like the coolest hardware hack that you've ever done?
Well, so like I'm not that experienced with hardware, right? But there was this hardware CTF, like challenges for hardware security to practice, and I've also covered that as videos. And this was the first time when I actually executed and tried out these kind of like fault injection attacks, also a side channel attack where you measure the power consumption of the device while it's doing a cryptographic operation, and based on like that algorithm implemented that is doing like this cryptographic computation draws different kinds of powers depending if it's like handling a 0-bit or a 1-bit in your secret key or something like this. So by just measuring the power consumption while it's doing cryptographic operations, you can extract the secret key. So these were all proof of concept challenges kind of things, so nothing on a real device, but having done this myself on these challenges, that was kind of like, for myself, the craziest thing I've done, and I've like spent like weeks just sitting on these challenges and tried to figure out how to do that.
And I asked you this before, but I forget if it's in our last video, but what is like the dumbest security vulnerability you've ever found, and you were just like, really, bro? Why is this here? Like, do you have an example of that?
Actually, maybe what we just like said earlier with like hacking industrial control systems, but what you actually do is just like an open IP. Just some stuff is just not secured. Maybe you have an admin interface that is just like open on port 8080 and you didn't have no authentication on it. Or there's actually this kind of vulnerability class that is called indirect object reference, where if you have an ID in the URL, so like user ID 1, user ID 2 or something like this, and you just like change the ID to another user and you get like their profile data or something, because there was no authentication check to your session if you are actually that user or something. And it's called indirect object
referencing.
So just missing access control kind of checks, those are kind of like kind of like, it was so obvious.
What do you think about automated pen testing with deep learning? You can see his reaction. He's like,
I mean, okay.
It's a good question, Mike.
If anybody's selling you this, it's bullshit. However, it is an interesting research kind of field, right? Like, how far can you do this? Like, how viable is this actually? And 2 years ago, I think, there was actually a hacking competition that was funded by DARPA, where a lot of academic teams were actually building machines that were automatically finding and exploiting vulnerabilities in like a CTF kind of setup. But it was very narrowed down. Like, they created like their own architecture, their own kind of software thing, like how this works. But even on that level, having to automate like finding vulnerabilities, reason about them, writing exploits for them, and this was all done on the machine. There are some cool live stream recordings from the finals. You should check them out. Like, it's the most nerdiest thing you have seen, where like just like huge like machine like server racks are just like crunching away and trying to automatically exploit these objects, and they were competing against human teams. But it's like so specialized, like it's academic research, right? Like, it's like the first time people were trying to do this, and obviously they are very restricted and very narrow fields that is not applicable to like the real world directly in that sense, but it's like so important research to do. So like I said, if somebody's selling you this as like a product, it's bullshit, but it's an interesting question to ask and to explore.
Can you link the CTF? I can't, because I'm using Discord full screen, and if I do anything else to navigate, like, this minimizes, and then you can see all of my adult tabs in the background. I'm just kidding. No, I can't link it because the live stream's taking that.
Yeah, I quickly send, if I can, am allowed to paste the link here.
You should be admin. Remember the first time you just like creeped in the chat? You were like, "Hey Josh," and I was like, "What? You have a check mark? What's this?" See, he has a check mark.
Yeah. I remember the first time I came into your channel, I wanted to. You were talking about JavaScript stuff, and I was really curious if you have ever had anything. If you have ever had contact with security, like as a front-end developer, I think you were at some time. If you had ever like thought about XSS, and I was just curious, and I was trying to get your attention, but outright ignoring my question until like people were spamming you. This dude has subscribers. Then you started to.
Well, you gotta recognize a little urgency there. No, the only thing that like I really did was just like SQL injection testing, like make sure like you couldn't do that sort of stuff. Not cross-site scripting or anything like that. Most of the stuff you use for authentication, if you're not making it from scratch, which is what most people don't do, it's pretty secure. So
yeah,
I never really thought about it, but the only one I knew for sure was like SQL injection is a real thing. There's still a lot of old websites that don't convert your SQL and remove all of the characters. Let's see.
Oh yeah, I remember this person asking me if I'm a bot because I've been spamming the same question over and over again. Because
that's funny. It was not on purpose. Apparently, I'm just oblivious in general. I get wrapped up in my head. Like whenever I'm live streaming, there's like this different mindset that I like shift into to like remember everyone's names.
Pay attention to chat at the same time while trying to entertain and speak and stuff.
I don't know how people on Twitch do it for like every day, 12, 13 hours a day. Like I did it for once for like 2.5 hours, and my voice was like crackly after that, and I was like, how do people do this for like
so draining
a job? This is insane. So when everyone's like, I want to play video games for a living, like it's different than streaming and engaging and being entertaining and being funny and trying to make money.
Okay, I know this goes like it's so off topic, but this is annoying me so much how people, say, oh, streamers, they are so easy job and they make so much money and stuff like this. And sure, there are a couple of people that make a lot of money, but they sit down oftentimes like 6 days a week, 7 days a week, many hours, and having this extremely mentally draining thing. And they can't have a day where they are just like, you know how it is. Sometimes a job you come in and you don't feel like working that day, and they need to be like alert and provide good gameplay and stuff every day. And it's when then some people become like so demanding and I don't know, talk makes me angry.
The thing with streaming is that like it's one of those jobs you can't walk away from. It's a bad investment in that regard because you can't walk away. You can walk away from your YouTube channel and your ad revenue will slowly decline, but you'll still have ad revenue unless one of your videos could get picked up when you're not there. But like you could walk away and still have revenue. People on Twitch, like their subs instantly fall when you switch games that they don't like, and like if you're not streaming, you're not getting more subs. Like there's a chance that the YouTube algorithm can pick your video back up when you're not there. It's happened to me a couple times. And so it's just like you have to sell time and you have to be present on location there, and that is a terrible investment, I think. Let's see. Who's the guest you'd like some context? This is LiveOverflow. He makes cybersecurity videos. Go check his channel out.
I have a question for you. In like the companies you have worked with or your interviews that you have done, has like an interviewer or ever like hinted or asked about security, or was this basically never a topic or never like?
Not in an interview. There was a task that we were given. There was a task specifically. I remember it was for logging in. We were building authentication from scratch, and then that's when I was like, wait. So I started Googling about it there, and I was like, what should I be on the lookout for? It appears SQL injection is pretty common here. What should I do about this? And they were like, use this or use this, and it's like, oh, okay. But it's never come up in an interview, but I don't know why it wouldn't. They should probably care more. I think maybe they should start including that, like cross-site scripting, that sort of stuff.
I mean, I have very limited industry experience. I don't know how the industry, especially in the US, looks like. So I'm just curious, if like there's a shift happening or not, and if security is a topic or not. I don't even know.
How'd you find your CTF team?
Actually, I was participating in. There was a national CTF kind of thing in Germany. It was like this Cybersecurity Challenge Germany. And I was and you participated there solo, just as yourself. It is for students, I got then to the finals, and then you get split into two groups, and people are hanging out on IRC and playing these kind of challenges. You do them at home yourself, but you are constantly exchanging your frustrations, and you chat with other people. And from that whole event and playing this challenge stuff together and going to the finals together, from that a group just arose that then also played other CTFs, and so the origin of my CTF team is coming out of participants of that challenge for students.
Cool. Are you like the top of the class in your masters? Are you like, because you're doing stuff all the time, you're like working already, or they're like, I mean, how many of other classmates do you have that have never had a job, and you're just like looking at them and you're like, bruh, you have no idea. At this university. Really? So you just do your own thing? You ever have anyone come up to you and be like...
In the master's degree, at least at this university, you don't really have classes you have to go to. And then also, I'm already, way slower. People, if you go to university and you complete it in the intended time, you will get to know the people that are on your same path. But I'm so much slower. I pick a lot of different courses, so I obviously met classmates in certain courses I did, but I'm done with my courses now. Like I have all my credits completed. I just need to write the thesis. So I have no clue. And I've never been, but I guess maybe what you are getting at, I've never been great like with my grades. During school, I never had like issues passing. In most cases, I had fairly okay grades, but never, not the A grade or something, not perfect. And in languages, I was actually almost failing school because of them. French and English almost broke my neck. But then, and in university, for example, I was struggling a lot with math, even though I enjoy math. Like, I think the logic stuff that you do with math and proofs and reasoning about certain mathematical properties, I think this is very exciting. But my brain is just not capable of understanding. Like, I don't know how my friends do it and just get it. Yeah, probably, and maybe I need to develop a bit more of intuition, or maybe I wasn't quite ready yet or something. I don't know. But so I was struggling, even though I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Aubrey, your question: which of your videos would you recommend to watch for the audience? Go watch his videos. Go watch John Hammond's videos. Go watch the dude that you linked me earlier that's copying your style now videos. Yeah, I mean,
you can go
ahead.
on my channel and like featured channels, so there you can find a couple of other security people.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to it. Like, so there's like subsets of subsets of subsets. 5 projects sufficient for a job interview? Depends on the project. If you have 5 to-do apps, I'm going to say no. If you have a to-do app, a quote generator, and a calculator, I'm going to say no. Like,
I mean, at least that sounds like you have completed projects, you know? Like, I think the biggest struggle is that a lot of people don't even have completed projects.
I guess, but you're just changing the inputs and the outputs on the page, really. That's just...
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's what you're doing on any page, but I feel like you should have a complete project for, like, from Trello board, for prototypes to wireframes to Trello board to mock-ups to tickets that you moved over, and you can document all that, like what he was saying. Like, that's what you need. Let's see. Does it matter if your code looks like garbage? As long as you're aware that it's garbage and you want to work on getting better. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess that's it. We've been here for like an hour and 5. Then I have some students to teach later today. Cool. So we'll do some shout outs. Vincent, Crypto, Mike, Socrates. Who else we got in here? Arian, Illusion, Kiefer, Sam, Jimbo. Appreciate all you guys for hanging out. Thanks for doing the live stream, dude. Appreciate it. There's a lot of really like niche valuable content in here. So for the people that are interested in cybersecurity, hopefully they find this and they get your questions, and then they can also learn about your 19 devices and your cleaning cart over there, and it'll be good. So I don't know. It's cool. Thanks, dude. We appreciate it. And hope you guys have a killer rest of the day, and we'll see you later.
Yeah, thanks for having me.